Hello, good evening.
Good
Welcome to the
evening, sir.
class.
Good evening, sir.
This is our third class in SEC Paper Unit 1. Fermented foods. Class number 1 is about how the fermentation, basics of fermentation, science behind the fermentation. Class 2, microbes involved in the fermentation process and different types of enzymes involved in the fermentation process. We are discussing in the previous class. And now the third class, fermented foods, different types of fermented foods, and the beneficial role of the fermented foods. Today's session or today's class. So give the definition of fermented food first. What is fermented food? How will you define a fermented food? Try the definition, define fermented food.
Sir, the food in which some energy is produced by the microbes.
Energy. Why energy?
Sir, because fermentation is the process of energy production.
Uh, the food itself has the energy. Food contains energy. Food contains materials. Whenever you ingest, it's breakdown, it digested and produce energy. So extra energy that is not gaining from the fermentation. We are gaining fermentation. We are use fermentation process to food to make better available, better to digest, better to. That's the advantages of fermented food. We are discussing about that in the class. But what is fermented food? It needs some bacteria or not? It needs some microbes or not? Not only bacteria, other molds, variety of yeast, they are also involving to convert the foods into regular foods into fermented foods. So, what is fermented food? Is the action of microbes, is the action of microbial enzyme to convert the regular foods or raw materials into fermented foods. Clear or not? What is the definition? Is it? Isn't it? So, fermented foods that are derived from controlled action of microbial growth and conversion of food component by microbial enzymatic procedure, enzymatic action. So the dual action is needed to make the fermented food. Yes or no? The first action is the microbes growth and the second action is derived enzymes utilization, microbe derived enzymes utilization that change the components into different products. So dual action is needed for to make a fermented food. Number one, microbes action. Previous class we discussed about that different microbes are involved, bacteria, yeast, mold, virus, etc. etc. And microbe derived enzymes, they are also involved to make fermented food. Check in the definition. Foods are derived from control action of microbial growth. That means microbes are here actioning, take part in the action, as well as the enzymatic action. Where does the enzyme came? The enzyme came from the actually microbes growth. When the microbes are growing, that time they are producing certain enzyme that cleaved or break down or convert some molecules in the food that originally present into fermented food. Definition is clear, fermented food.
Yes, sir.
And the another part of the fermented food definition, if you check, we written here controlled action. Check the word control action of microbial growth. What type of control is needed during make the to make the fermented food? Three types of controlling is needed. Otherwise, otherwise food will be not fermented. It will be spoiled. It will be spoiled because more and more bacteria are growing, and if you take more time, if you allow to do more fermented time, it will be spoiled ultimately. So the not only the action of microbes, it will be control action. The definition should be control action, right? So what type of controls are needed? Basically, three types of control. Number one, type of microorganism you should control during the fermentation process. Type of microorganism. Logically, it is correct or not? Type of microorganism, it should be controlled. Otherwise, the spoilage causing microbes, disease causing microbes, they are start to grow inside the food and start. They do not ferment. They actually spoil the foods. So fermented food ultimately getting down for spoiled food. So you should control what types of microbes are grow, and that those microbes which are actually allowing the fermentation should be allowed. Type of microorganism you should control, number one. Number two, the time, which I already said. Time. Time is a critical factor. Uh, should optimal time should be given. Otherwise, it will be overcooked. That means over fermented. Ultimately, it will be not eatable, not edible. So time is the critical factor of fermentation process. Every fermented food product, whenever I go to the fermentation process in every dairy based or milk based or grain based, there will be certain time point. It will be fermented for 24 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours. It critically controlled. Otherwise, it's over ripened. That means it will be spoiled. Under ripened means it will be not eatable. The total number of total amount of fermented acids or which I desired that will not produce. So optimal time should be given and that will be controllable. Control point two. And third, the temperature, environmental factor. Temperature is the critical point, another critical control point because temperature, we know that every microorganism needs optimal temperature for the growth. So our desired microbes need particular temperature, should control a particular temperature for the growth of desired microbes that will ferment the food, not spoil the food. So that temperature is must given. Otherwise, food will be turned into spoil. Clear? So three controllable factors during the fermentation food should clear in your mind. Types of microbes which is grown inside the fruit food, and second time factor, and third temperature factor. If you control three things, it will be produce a turn into a good fermented food, which is easily edible and clearly it will be benefited in your health as well. Clear? Fermented food. Fermented food is the new things, or it will be used in the ancient time also. Ancient time also. So it is not new. Fermented foods, it is not new. It's not new to the market. Fermented food used in ancient period also. We are tracing that before 10,000 years also fermented foods are used. Fermented foods are used in that society where 10,000 years back. They are also using fermented foods. So fermented food is not in the market, not new, not modernized food. It's also used in the ancient era. And today, more than 1,000 types of fermented products are available globally. More than 1,000 types of fermented food available in the market, available in globally. So clearly, fermented foods are now used in the every cuisine, every parts in the world. So it's demanding now. Fermented foods are in demanding. We are regularly use fermented food in every day in our lifestyle right now, right? So that's why fermented food is a good industry nowadays. But before time, that is 10,000 years back, fermented foods are not globally that much popular. Clear? So the point is, in modern days, the fermented foods are hugely demanding. Now, fermented foods used many cuisine in every world. So clearly, the fermented food is highly demanding. The use of fermented food increase rapidly because of high demand. So the production facility nowadays are evolved, are changed from previous days. So আমরা কুইক একটা লুক নেব how does it will change from traditional to facility level, industry level, modern level. How does fermented food production units are changed traditional, that means previous time, to modern era. Previous time ancient period, the fermented foods produced in small scale because that time not so much popular fermented foods. What are the benefits of fermented foods? We do not know. That's why it produced scatterly, clusterly, different area, and it produced in small scale. But the demanding is huge now in the modern scenario. It will change. It will change into large scale. That means our industry level. change into industry. Now different types of industry are now growing from the fermented food. Wine industry, beer industry, alcoholic beverages industry, bakery industry, brewing industry. So different types of industries are now growing. So it produced now in large scale, modern facility. During the traditional era, fermented foods actually produced manually. But is it possible in industry manually production? So all things, majority things, not all, majority things are done by automatic production system. And another aspect, it will change into the modern industry, modern aspect, that is quality. In traditional, the fermented food is varying in quality. There is no standardization process. That's why the quality changes. Production is same, but quality change, more acid production or less acid production, not maintain standardized. But in nowadays, industry means standardized protocols are followed. That's why the quality is produced, that is produced always in static. The quality is not varied. So consistent quality now is start to produce because it is now in industry level. Consistent quality. Fermented foods are now start to produce. Number four, in traditional, safety is not so concerned. They do not know about the microbes. So what is safety? They do not know about the safety, how the spoilage occur, how the food poisoning organism or foodborne organisms grow. They do not know. So the safety purpose, the safety issue is there in the traditional past. But modern, in the case of modern industry, safety is the major issue, and safety not major issue. Safety is the major concern now. So safety is not so concerned in traditional, but nowadays safety, food safety is major concerning area. We know that various food agencies in different country and food laws are also available now. Food law and strict punishments are there if any adulteration is done. So various food agency globally and food laws. This is in our syllabus in the last unit, food agency and the laws of food about. Just brief description. Food laws are present now in modern society. Did you know Indian food agency, major food agency? FSI. Food agency in India, major regulator, FSI. Number five, significant exposure to contamination. From that point, the number five point is came. Significant in the traditional era, significant exposure to contamination. But now different agencies are strictly controlling that. That's why minimum exposure to contamination. So previous era and modern era, various units are changed during fermented food production. Clear? It is the first part to discuss what is fermented food and how does it change, how it become popular, and how does it change the production facility from traditional to modern. So traditional versus modern facility unit can be a good question in exam. How does it changes? Clear? And the next part we move into the fermented food, different types of fermented food and their advantages or beneficial role of fermented food. Next part, beneficial role or advantages of fermented food. Number one, preservation. Number one, benefit from the fermented food, preservation. It sound odd, like it sound odd. Preservation, food preservation. How food preservation and fermentation are connected? How food preservation and fermentation is connected? Hmm. বলো, fermented food and the preservation. How does it goes? Actually, fermentation is studied or actually utilized for preservation purpose only at the ancient period because there is no refrigeration now. For nowadays, we know in every household container refrigeration that store the food, but that time there is no refrigeration to store, and there is no ubiquity of fruits and vegetables also. Not so much abundant. They are seasonal. Right. So that's why in the previous era, actually fermented foods are generally originate is the main reason, sole reason to preserve the food and utilize it for all over the year. Clear? So first purpose or first benefit of any fermented food is preservation. Historically, fermented food is a method of preservation. Is a method of preservation. And the question was, how does fermentation help in preservation? How does fermentation help in preservation of food? Go back to the basics of fermentation. Class number one, where we see that during fermentation, different acids are produced, alcohols are produced. Acids and alcohols actually lower down the pH, acid basically, lower down the pH, and the low pH, the food become low pH and acidic pH. Many microbes cannot grow. Many spoilage microbes cannot grow. Many pathogenic microbes cannot grow. They are not tolerating any acid or pH, low pH. That's why the fermented food containing high acid and that acidic pH makes kill or destroy the pathogenic or spoilage microbes. By that way, fermented foods are easily preservable without any refrigeration. It can be stored for the 6 month, 1 year easily. Just take an example: milk and the cheese. Best before, check the best before. Milk, a packet of milk. You can best before use for 2 or 3 days hardly. If you do not refrigerate it, hardly we can use for 2 or 3 days. After that, the milk will be curdled. Yes or no? But the cheese, without refrigeration, without any storing process, a cheese can be stored for 3 months, 6 months without any issue. So fermented food, whenever the fermented production is done, fermented acids and alcohols are produced, they are killing other microbes, other pathogenic, other spoilage causing microbes. So inherent property develop that actually preserve the materials. Clear? So how does fermentation help? Because in fermentation, sugar, we clearly know sugar converted into carbohydrates convert different acid. It will be lactic acid, acetic acid, butyric acid. Depend on the fermentation type, it will be different acids can be produced. Different type of acid, as well as alcohols are also produced. Some organism yeast prefer to form alcohols rather acid. And bacteriocin. Did you hear the term bacteriocin? Previous day we discussed, class number 2, we discussed some microbes, lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, they are producing bacteriocin. Bacteriocin is the toxin that kill other microbes. So bacteriocins also can be produced in the food during the fermentation process, after fermentation process that kill other microbes. So by that way, the altogether preserve the food. There, the shelf life of the food can be increased. Acids, alcohol, bacteriocins that ultimately kill spoilage causing microbes and increase the shelf life of the food product. Just example, milk versus cheese. Whose shelf life is more? Obviously cheese. The raw milk has shelf life just 2 or 3 days, hardly in packaging condition. And if you remove the package and just it hardly stay about 6 to 8 hours. After that, it will be spoiled. But cheese, it can stay 2 to 3 months easily without cause any problem. Another example, raw mango versus pickles, mango pickles. Answer, whose shelf life is more? Clearly pickles. So pickles, another fermented food product, fermented product. Various acids are produced during the pickles, production of fermented pickles, and the shelf life will be clearly high. The pickles we are using all over the season, all over the year. But raw mangoes, it's just about 7 days or 8 days, hardly. So preservation and fermented food, there is a connection, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clear? So benefit number one, historically it will used as a preservation method. Fermented food used as a preservation method. Number two, Benefit number two. Enhance nutritional value. Fermented food products enhance nutritional value. Fermented food contain more antioxidant, more vitamins, and easily digestible. Agree with the statement? Agree with that statement? The fermented foods are rich amount of contain rich amount of antioxidant, vitamins, and easily digestible product. It is yes or no? Give an example of each of them. More antioxidants. Fermented food contain more antioxidant. A good example is wine. It's a fermented beverages, alcoholic beverages fermented by yeast. Wine contain several phenolic compounds. Several phenolic compounds. Where does the phenolic compounds are produced? By means of fermentation. Phenolic compounds are not present in the grapes, but it is produced after fermentation. Whenever wine is produced, that time the phenolic compounds are more. And these phenolic compounds act as an antioxidant. It acts as an antioxidant. Antioxidant reduce chance of heart disease, chance of heart diseases as well as cancer. Chances of cancer are much lower when you have full of antioxidant in your body. Many times our antioxidant levels are getting down. Antioxidant means what does means antioxidant? In any kind of aerobic respiration, we are aerobes. Any kind of aerobic respiration cell generate some amount of oxygen radical, superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, that types of radicals every cell generate because all are aerobic organism. And these superoxide radicals and oxygen radicals, they are accumulately called ROS, reactive oxygen species. Reactive oxygen species actually damaging all kinds of lipids, proteins inside the cell. So during the aerobic process, aerobic respiration process, that type of ROS are generated in every aerobic cell. Generate ROS, reactive oxygen species. And this reactive oxygen species, if you do not destroy, it will kill ultimately your cell, your damage your tissue and organ. So antioxidant, what is the role of antioxidant? Antioxidant actually neutralize this kind of reactive oxygen species that generated every time a cell respires. So antioxidant, if body content full of antioxidant, more antioxidant diet content more antioxidant product, the cell will be healthier. Yes or no? If the cell is healthier, so any kind of disease chance will be less. Number one. If cell is healthier, then cancer chance also be lower, because ultimately cancers are formed from the own cell, our own body cells turn into the cancerous cells. So if the cells is healthier, then chances of cancer does not happen. Cancer is not happening by means of fermented food product consumption. Chances are getting lower. Chances are lower, and any kind of disease, including heart diseases, are also reduced. So many Mediterranean countries, they are consume wine during their meal. Drink wine during meal or after meal, and that is in their tradition. And it is also true, the wine that is they are consuming, it is very low amount, only 5 to 10 ml. Not in our people country, they are start drink about 100, 200, 500 ml. In our country, India, wine or other type of alcoholic beverage, this is act as a main food. Yes, they consume lot of drink, but in tradition, wine or beer should consume in limited quantity, just just about 5 or 10 ml. That's it per day. That is good enough to generate antioxidants and various kinds of uh, other beneficial role. Clear? So enhance nutritional value. So give one example. We are giving example of antioxidant rich wine. Second, we are written here more vitamins. Check yogurt, more vitamins. Yogurt versus milk. Yogurt contain more vitamin B complex, more vitamin B12, more vitamin D than milk. So yogurt contain more amount vitamin B complex. So more vitamins are came because the growth of microbes, as a byproduct, when microbes are grow, they start to produce vitamin also. Escherichia coli, biggest example, they produce vitamin during the growth. Lactobacillus also produces vitamin B12. Easily digestible. Another thing. Do you know Asian country, many people are suffering from lactose intolerance? What is lactose intolerance? Not only adult time, it can be started from child, infant time also. Some inherited or genetically they are at lactose intolerance. So easily digestible. See it another way. Take an example. Lactose intolerance. Lactose intolerance people. What happened in lactose intolerant people? After milk consumption, start intestinal distress. Intestinal distress. meaning start to feeling vomiting condition, nausea, vomiting, gas, bloating. This kind of symptoms are developed after the consumption of milk or milk products, milk-based product, raw milk-based product. Vomiting symptom, bloating symptom, etc. These are commonly called intestinal distress. That symptom commonly called the intestinal distress and that occur in the lactose intolerance people. What drives the lactose intolerance? What drives? It is written here lactose because milk contain the major sugar lactose. In all know that lactose is a disaccharide. That means glucose and galactose, two monosaccharide units are connected each other and form lactose. Okay. So glucose and galactose form bonding means disaccharide. So whenever you need energy, you need to cleave the disaccharide molecule and separate the glucose and galactose. Otherwise, lactose could not give any energy. We have to isolate or derive from the lactose glucose and galactose by the digestion enzyme. And the enzyme that take part into the action called lactase. Lactase. Lactase present intestine and lactase cleave the lactose into glucose and glucose and galactose ultimately give energy. So the lactose intolerant people, the lactase concentration become lower in the adult phase and those are in the genetically intolerance, they cannot produce lactase. That's why the milk, when we consume the milk, lactose are still there and lactose start to ferment. Lactose is converted into the acid and that create acidity, bloating and vomiting tendency. And this is the symptom of intestinal distress. But fermented food, lactose intolerant people easily consume without any distress. How? Because fermented food, already the sugars are utilized by the microbes during the growth period. Yes or no? The lactose that contain inherent into the meal, it will be consumed by the bacteria during the fermentation time. So carbohydrates have become utilized first. So lactose amounts are very low in the fermented food product, milk product. That's why the lactose intolerant people they are also consuming fermented milk product easily without any digestion issue. So third example, easily digestible. Good example is lactose inherent people, intolerance people. Lactose intolerance people they are also consume. They can consume milk product, fermented milk product like yogurt, curd, etc. Why? Because in fermented milk product, lactose concentration nominal or very low because it already used by microbes during their growth. Yes or no? So three nutritional benefit, easily digestible, good example in lactose intolerant people, milk consumption. Second, more vitamins, yogurt versus milk. We show that yogurt contain more vitamin rich and more antioxidant. Also, in case of wine, good example, more on antioxidant containing fermented food. The second advantage, clear all, enhanced nutritional value. Third, advantage number three, increase functionality. Increased functionality means fermented food are different from starting raw material. Fermented foods are quite different and unique from starting raw material. Statement is correct or false? It will be different from the raw materials or it will be same. It will
Yes.
be different and each fermented products are unique in their taste, in their aroma. Huh? Example, before fermentation, milk, the raw milk, is just used as a liquid, milk liquid, to consume raw milk liquid. Before fermentation, milk only used as a raw liquid to consume. No other function of milk at that time. When no fermentation, milk-based fermentation is not done, the function of milk is what? Just only liquid milk consumption, other than no function. But after fermentation, from the milk, there will be lot of variety of products. Minimum 15 to 20 products are easily available in our country. Fermented milk-based product. So after fermentation, when you know the fermentation process of milk, the optimal procedure, then milk-based fermentations are huge. Lot of products can be derived from the milk. So after fermentation, minimum 15 to 20 total milk-based products can be formed. Milk-based products can be formed. Some examples are cheese, sour cream, yogurt, dahi, etc. etc. All are easily available in the market. So functionality of the milk increase or not after the fermentation? Increased.
Yes.
Without fermentation, it just used as a raw liquid milk for the consumption only. Other than that, no function. But now the functionality is increased. More products are delivered by the milk. Clear? Another example, good example. Wheat flour. Wheat flour. Before fermentation, wheat flour just used to make roti, chapati, etc. But now, when the puffing up or leavening reaction can be done, that means the carbon dioxide production inside the dough can be formed. The industry will be produced, that called bakery industry, and there will be produced lot of product, biscuit, bread, etc., etc., all things. So functionality increase. So wheat flour before fermentation used as used to make flat bread. Flat bread means roti, chapati, etc. After fermentation, When we learn about the leavening reaction, carbon dioxide production inside the flour dough, wheat flour dough, a bakery, a whole lot of products are formed and create bakery industry, bakery product. So functionality increase or not after fermentation? Increase. Take another good example, barley. Before fermentation, barley has no use, literally no use. How barley can be used into the culture, into the cuisine, they do not know about that. But after fermentation, it is the main raw material to production of beer. Yes or no? So how does beer came? It will be fermented. So barley has no value before fermentation, but nowadays it is now functionality increased, value is increased. Limited functionality or no functionality before fermentation. But after the fermentation, now barley is the main raw ingredients to production of beer. So that increases the functionality, the value of barley, the value of wheat flour, the value of milk. Which process increase? Fermentation process increases the functionality, enhance the functionality. The point number three. Got my point, all of you? Increase functionality. Is it clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Number four, advantage or beneficial role of fermented food. Organoleptic. Number four. Organoleptic means enhance organoleptic property like taste, like flavor, like aroma. These are the organoleptic property of the food, and fermented product, fermentation, after fermentation, it will enhance or increase. Many people cannot consume milk because of the smell. You found it everywhere. Many people, you stay over the, can you bring milk? No. Answer is why? Because it's smell. But milk product, yogurt, they are easily consumed without any problem. So each product, each fermented product has a unique taste, has a unique aroma, flavor, etc. after the fermentation. So clearly, the second point is every fermented product has unique taste. Statement is correct. Taste, flavor, aroma, all of the organoleptic properties. Every fermented products are different. Number 5, advantages. Economic value. We cannot deny that point also. Economic value. After fermentation, many industry are growing up. So ultimately, GDP of the country is increased. So economic value, it has role in the economy, provide higher economic value. Just simply think milk versus cheese. Favorite comparison. Price of milk. What is the price of milk average? And cheese price way more than higher price because cheese is the different product. But milk to cheese production need some amount of microbes and control temperature, time, etc. Just 2 or 3 things control with the special microbes, give the suitable microbes, milk are turned into the cheese. But cheese, when it's sold in the market, it is in the higher price. But the milk reduced price. So economic value increases or not? Increases. So any fermented product, the price is higher. So economy always increase fermented foods when produced higher in the country, any country. And the data suggests that recent data in 2023, global fermented food is globally, not in India. Global fermented food make $600 billion industry. $600 billion industry. And data also suggests that in just 10 years after, that means 2033, it will reach thousand, near about approximately $1,000 billion industry, fermented food industry globally, meaning double, just double, near about double in just 10 years. So growth rate is high, fermented food consumption demand is high. So another important advantage or benefit about the fermented food, it enhances the GDP of any country. That means it has the own unique value, economic value. Clear? Other benefits. Other benefits of fermented food. Fermented food like yogurt, dahi contain or act as a probiotic. What is probiotic mean? Probiotic means live, helpful bacteria that actually help in the digestion process and the gut system better health. They provide better health to human gut system. So that organisms are considered as probiotic. They are live bacteria. So fermented food contain those kinds of those bacteria which are actually helping in our gut system. That means act as a probiotic. হুম। হ্যাঁ ওখানে ডাইরেক্ট স্টেন দেওয়া হয় ইয়াকুটে যেটা করা হয় ওখানে ডাইরেক্ট প্রোবায়োটিক মানে হেল্পফুল ব্যাকটেরিয়া স্টেন মিক্স আপ করে লিকুইডটা প্রিপেয়ার করা হয় ডিফারেন্ট টাইপস অফ ব্যাকটেরিয়া আছে ইস্টও আছে ঠিক আছে আফটার বাই চেক দ্য লেভেল নাও এবার দেখতে পাবে যে বুঝতে পারবে যে কি কি ব্যাকটেরিয়া ইস্টে স্টেন দেওয়া আছে বাট ওটা তো মেকিং এটা ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়ালি মেকিং বাট ইটসেলফ ফুড ইয়োগার্ট খাও ইয়াকুট খাওয়ার দরকার নেই ইয়োগার্ট খাও দহি খাও আফটার মিল জাস্ট টেক 1 or 2 স্পুনফুল অফ মিল দহি ঠিক that will increase your gut system gut health easily act as a probiotic is good for gut health why it is good number one point it increases the digestion process increase digestion second probiotic eliminate disease causing organism in our gut and some growth factors also delivered that ultimately boost our growth boost our health gut system that's why probiotics are good and probiotics only we found in the fermented food because fermented food actually delivered from the microbes those microbes can be a probiotic organism lactobacillus is a good probiotic organism bifidobacterium is a good probiotic organism so these are some advantages or beneficial role of fermented foods clear all points are clear
Yes, sir.
different types of fermented food next topic different types of fermented food types of fermented food we can classify the fermented food based on the raw ingredients we used milk based fermentation here milk is the basic raw material grain based fermentation vegetable based fermentation and fermented meat and fish meat and fish also can be fermented and different products can be delivered some example of milk based products many products can be derived from the milk ultimately total 15 to 20 types but in our syllabus what are the products are there in the syllabus milk based fermentation dahi yogurt dahi yogurt basically same just change some nutritional content buttermilk Acidophilus milk, kefir, komis, and cheese. So these are some milk-based production process. How does yogurt production, buttermilk production occur? What is the organism that create the buttermilk or acidophilus milk? We have to be go through in the syllabus, and this is in unit number 2. This is in your syllabus, unit number 2, milk-based fermentation and different fermented product production process. It is in your syllabus, unit number 2. Grain-based fermentation, unit number 3. Inside grain-based fermentation, the products are in the syllabus: idli, dosa, bread, soy sauce, tempeh. Idli, dosa, bread, soy sauce, and tempeh. These are example of grain-based fermentation production process, and the organism involved in the production process. All are we are going through in the next class. That is unit 3. Unit number 4, vegetable based fermentation, and inside that two products are given: pickle and sauerkraut. And unit number 5 contain fermented meat and fish products. Different products can be formed after fermentation of meat: salami, sausage, ham, bacon. From the meat, from the fish sauce, and fish paste. Basically, these two things are used in the Chinese cuisine, Asian cuisine: fish sauce and fish paste. More used in the Asian cuisine. So different types of fermented food products and their examples, and all of in the unit sectioning. Milk based in the unit 2, grain unit 3, vegetable unit 4, and fermented fish and meat unit number 5. Unit number 6 is probiotics, and unit number 7 about the controlling agency, emphasize some rule, law, HACCP rule, etc. etc. That is total syllabus in SEC paper. No books can meet this total syllabus. So unit number 1, the basics about fermentation, fermented food, different type of fermented food, and fermented food product benefits. Unit number 1 complete. Unit 1 done. In next class, we started milk-based fermentation, that is unit 2. Milk-based fermentation and going through the production process. Start the production process from milk-based dahi yogurt. Any
স্যার
question?
কোর পেপারের স্যার কোর পেপারের আগে কি কোনো নোটস দেওয়া হয়েছিল?
না,
আগের
আমি
ক্লাসগুলোতে?
ইউনিট বলে দিচ্ছি। ইউনিট কমপ্লিট করে দেন নোটস প্রোভাইড করব আমি। যেমন এটার ইউনিট
ওকে
ওয়ান
স্যার।
কমপ্লিট হয়ে গেছে, তো ইউনিট ওয়ানের টোটাল নোটসটা আপলোড করে দেবো আমি আফটার
ওকে
সাম
স্যার।
টাইম।
ওকে।
ঠিক আছে, তো ইউনিট ওয়ান কমপ্লিট হয়ে যাওয়ার পর ইউনিট বেসড নোটস প্রোভাইড করা হয়, নট ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল ক্লাসে। ক্লিয়ার?
ওকে স্যার।
এবার তোমরা যেটা, আমি কেন এটা করি, বিকজ ইউনিট ওয়ান 3টে ক্লাস লেগেছে, তার এগেনস্টে যা যা আমি টপিক পড়িয়েছি বই থেকে একবার রিড করতে পারো। আমি বই তো সাজেস্ট করে দিয়েছি, ফ্রেজিয়ার সাজেস্ট করেছি, বিবেক রে বোধহয় সাজেস্ট করেছি। তো ওখান থেকে কিছু দেখতে পারো, পড়তে পারো, রিড করতে পারো, বাট নোটস উইল বি কমপ্লিটেড। পার্টিকুলারলি কমপ্লিট করবে নোটস। or any question from today's topic? Any question?
স্যার,
No, sir.
Fermented food products.
অ্যান্টিঅক্সিডেন্টটা আরেকবার একটু বোঝাবেন?
Antioxidant means হচ্ছে every body produce, aerobic organism produce ROS, reactive oxygen species, that contain superoxide, that contain hydrogen peroxide, etc., etc., that ultimately kill cell membrane, cell protein, nucleic acid, etc. Anything can be damaged by the ROS. ROS সবকিছু ড্যামেজ করে দিতে পারে সেলে। তো বডিতে অ্যান্টিঅক্সিডেন্ট যদি না রাখো, অ্যান্টিঅক্সিডেন্ট ফাংশন টু minimize the ROS, to neutralize the ROS, reactive oxygen species that produced during the aerobic respiration. তো ওটা যদি না হয় বডিতে, তাহলে সেল ড্যামেজ হবে। সেল ড্যামেজ মিনস টিস্যু ড্যামেজ, টিস্যু ড্যামেজ মিনস অর্গান ড্যামেজ। ওকে, তার মানে ডিজিজ কন্ডিশন ক্রিয়েট করবে বডি। তো অ্যান্টিঅক্সিডেন্ট যদি প্রোডাকশন হাই থাকে in your body, so it will combat many types of disease, reduces the chances of disease including heart disease as well as cancer also, because ultimately cancer are the transform cell of the normal cell. Normal body cells are transforming into cancer cell. So antioxidant make healthy cell, create the environment for the healthier environment for the cell. That's why it reduces the chance.
ওকে স্যার।
Clear?
ক্লিয়ার
Or
স্যার।
any question? Or any question? Done?